Hey, good morning. My name is James Lewis. I am a senior investment advisor and certified financial planner with Capital Investment Advisors. I'm also on the Money Matters team, and I got a really interesting question today about a 30-year versus a 15-year refinance. A while back, I heard Wes mention some criteria of when to refinance. I'm currently on a 30-year loan with 22 years left on it. My current rate is 4.5%. I can get a 15-year loan at 2.5%. My outstanding balance is $187,000. I think it's a good idea to refinance. Do you agree? Also, what are the pros and cons of a 15-year versus a 30-year mortgage? All right, so when we were breaking down this question, right, typically what I like to do is break it down and look at three different facets of the loan, right? So when we're talking about the 30-year loan that's existing versus the 15-year loan, I really break it down in terms of, well, let's look at the monthly payment, right? What do you have to pay each month? What's the obligation there? Let's look at the total interest that's being paid. I mean, that's really at the heart of it, right? I don't want to pay more in interest than I have to. And then the other part of it is sometimes people do not consider is the tax deduction, right? Because if you're itemizing, your taxes, mortgage interest is a deduction when you itemize. So when you look at the current 30-year loan with the 22 years remaining, that monthly payment is about $1,120 a month. And if you were to go to that 15-year 2.5% option, that payment goes up to $1,250 a month. So the payment to refi to a shorter period of time is about $130 per month more. Now, next bucket, total interest. If you were to stick with the 30-year loan, 22 years left, you're going to end up paying for that remaining 22 years about $108,000 in total interest, right? That sounds like a lot. It is. If you flip over to the 2.5% loan, 15 years, the total interest you pay is actually $37,500 rounding, right? So you're saving almost $71,000 in total interest payments to flip over to the 15-year loan to refi. The third is the tax deduction. So on the 30-year option, if you take that $108,000 and you divide it by the 22 years remaining, the $108,000 in interest over the remaining 22 years that you paid off, that's about $4,900 a year that you can deduct from your taxes if you're itemizing. And if you're in the 25% tax bracket, that saves you about $1,230 a year in taxes, all right, which is significant. If you flip over to the 15-year 2.5% refi, that deduction, so that $37,500 over a 15-year period, you're deducting about $2,500 a year. So you're saving about $625 a year in taxes. So if you refi, you're going to end up paying about $600 a year more in taxes, but you're also saving $71,000 in total interest. So that's an easy trade-off. It's a no-brainer. So we just covered the numbers on the current 30-year situation versus refinancing to a 15-year, but there is another option out there, and that option gives us a little bit more flexibility. And it's really, what if we still did a 30-year? We're still going to refinance, and we're going to do a 30-year refinance, but we're going to do it at a 3.25% interest rate. So basically now we have, hey, currently we're paying off 30 years, 22 years remaining, 4.5%. We looked at a case where we're going to refi to a 15-year, 2.5% loan. But what if we did a 30-year, right, at 3.25%? Well, why would we do that? We would do that for a little bit more flexibility. Let's go through the numbers and talk about that. If you do a 30-year on $187,000 at 3.25%, your mandatory monthly payment is $815 a month compared to the $1,120 a month that you're currently paying, or the $1,250 a month that you would pay on the 15-year refi. So $815 a month, obviously that's a much lower monthly payment. The total interest is still about the same, right? You're still paying about $106,000 overall in interest if you pay it off over that 30-year period. Tax deductions, about $3,600 a year. So not too greatly different. But why would you do this? Well, James, I'm already in a 30-year. Why just go down a little bit in interest from 4.5% to 3.25%? The reason why you would do it is because it gives you added flexibility. So if you do the 30-year at a 3.25%, you can still pay it off in 15 years. If you make a payment of $1,315, $1,315 a month, right, you still pay it off in 15 years. And that's only about $65 more a month than you would have paid if you did the 15-year refi at 2.5. So you can accelerate, you can still pay it off in 15 years and still pay about $50,000 in interest. Again, that interest is a little bit more because your rate's 3.25, not 2.5. But if you or your spouse, God forbid, if something happens and one of you loses your job, now instead of being locked into a payment that's $1,250 a month, you can throttle back to a payment that's $815 a month until you get another job or the income comes back or you get on better financial footing. So it gives you that added flexibility to do a 30-year at a lower interest rate, but pay it off faster. So thank you so much for submitting that question. And if you have a question about your specific situation, should I or should I not refinance? Or, hey, James, I have a question about Social Security. Should I file? Should I wait? Happy to answer any of those questions. We're all happy to help. Just reach out to either myself or anyone else at the Money Matters team at yourwealth.com. Thanks.